whichever. I can do it. Okay.
Yeah, okay, take notes.
And then, okay. Well, first, oops.
Yeah, we got a couple of new people, so.
Yeah, so introductions would be the first things. I see Jose, and then, yeah, just, do you want to say hi, everyone? And then.
Yeah, I'm happy to say hi. Hi, I'm Jose. I am a maintainer on Telepresence, which is a CNCF sandbox project. And I'm just popping in because Dave and I had a chat at some point last week. We are looking to move Telepresence up to incubation. So I just kind of wanted to pop in, say this is what we're intending to do, get your takes and opinions as to how we should sort of proceed and etc. Yeah.
Great to meet you.
I'm Josh Burkus. I'm co-chair of the TAG. I work for Red Hat. I've also been a longtime Kubernetes contributor and contributor to a few other projects. Someone else?
I'll do. I'm Catherine, also one of the co-chairs, work for Boy and the creator of Linkerd. And by the way, my internet is a little choppy. If we have to switch, then we'll switch Josh's. Anyone else?
I'm Rian. I'm with II in New Zealand, and I help out with fixing things around here.
I'm Jay. I'm co-chair of the mentoring working group with Nate, and work also with II in New Zealand, the community.
I can go next. Hi, I work for Red Hat. I'm a Knative contributor, and in this working group, I try to help with the mentoring efforts and maybe some other stuff too. Dave, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm Dave Sudi. I'm developer relations at Ambassador Labs, and I invited Jose here because he's going to be leading the charge on telepresence incubation. And I was like, that's what I originally showed up to this group for. They're like, yeah, we can tell you about that. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, I'm adding telepresence incubation down there. The agenda.
G'day, I'm Andrew. I'm a maintainer and community representative for the KubeVirt community. I'm here because it seems like a thing that I can learn a lot from, and yeah, I've got no idea what you guys talk about, so I'm keen to learn.
Welcome. And then Sunil, do you want to say hi? You don't have to. You can also type in or say hi. I don't know. Hey.
Well, hi. Good morning, everyone.
Oh, you just muted yourself. Sorry, in half sentence, I think.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I got a new computer and I'm trying to get to the keyboard here. Yeah, I'm Sunil. I'm involved with Spire, as well as with tag security, Andrews. So I thought to join in this meeting and, like Auburn said, learn more as well. And any contributions I can do and helpful for the tag group here.
Awesome. So welcome everyone. It's always great to see new faces. So okay. So well, KubeCon recap, of course, that was recently. Should we just say our thoughts or like just Josh? I mean, we had a keynote, we had a session, went pretty well. Any other, like we had a kiosk as well as last time. And then do we want to do this? Sorry, someone said something. No. Question is, do we want to do something similar for Chicago? Yes or no? My tendency would be yes, I think.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dawn's keynote was really good, and I think it was well received.
Mm-hmm.
People appreciated the session. I had fun doing the round robin thing. I mean, we'll want to do something different for Chicago, obviously, and it might be you know, and they haven't announced the submission for maintainer sessions yet, so we will have a few weeks to figure out what something different would be. We're going to have the recap on the maintainer circle a little bit further down in the meeting. One of the things I wanted to actually hear back from people, because several of staff the kiosk, was how they felt, how useful having a kiosk was, because it's obviously a big time commitment for everybody who's going to the show, and how much they feel that they got actually out of being officially being in the project pavilion. Thoughts?
I was on the last day, so it was dead, to be honest.
Yeah.
So last time before, what worked for me was actually walking around at walking the kiosks and talk to maintainers who had downtime. But I don't know how it actually went the days prior.
So
Like
I
I
would-
did talk to a lot of people, but basically not while I was in our kiosk, if you follow me. That is, I went over to their kiosk to talk to them, and that's actually one of the reasons why I'm questioning whether or not we need to actually have a kiosk of our own.
Or if we should just schedule time to walk around the pavilion and
Yeah.
chat with people.
Yeah, because that's what I was doing last time anyways, right? Because it's like they wouldn't come to you, and it was like, okay, it's like, oh, cert manager is like has downtime. Let's go and chat. Like it's just waiting. The only challenge is like waiting for the time they have downtime, because like there's, even if it's not super busy, and generally there is like someone talking, like at least at some of them. So it's not like there's a time where you can go and do a big round. But
So I was in the kiosk a lot, and yeah, it was not that busy. It was, I cannot say it is very effective, but maybe it is how, like, this is maybe the normal. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm contrasting this with, I also worked the etcd kiosk, which was much busier with people coming up specifically with technical questions and that sort of thing.
So I was also Knative kiosk. It was a little bit more busy, but not too busy too. Yeah. Maybe etcd is a very like popular project, you know.
Yeah, well, we also had a big project meeting and Contrib Fest. So a lot of the people who showed up were basically follow-ups from that.
well, and also like our usual problem, or not problem, challenge is that our audience is a little tiny subgroup of the audience that attends KubeCon, right? So it's just maintainers. Everyone else is, most of the people walking around are people using the projects, right? So you'll have much more, or interested in that. So you'll have much more of those people walking around than actually maintain. And then sometimes someone comes and asks questions like, yeah, it's not really something that will be super interesting for you, but we can tell you what we do, right? So I think that's, yeah. Sorry?
It sounds like the time is better spent proactively walking up to people and saying, hey, you know Tag CS, and handing them a sticker than sitting at the kiosk with stickers.
That was my impression from last time, but of course that's how we got you, Dave. So I think we were like, we got one person.
But I was going to reach out on Slack. So, you know, I mean, I think, yes, it was a good opportunity to talk to Don. And, you know, if out of 2 KubeCons, I'm the only person and I was going to reach out anyways, then, you know, I don't know that it justifies, especially, you know, but what I'm saying is like, we could still structure time. Right? Like we could still have a schedule of people who's, hey, please go reach out to these, you know, walk through and see if anyone's got time, or
Yeah.
is having
I think
downtime,
it's more effective.
but without managing the kiosk is what I'm saying.
But we should
Yeah.
definitely have people like manned with like some flyers and stickers, definitely. I think it is the spot where our audience is. But walking the booths, walking the kiosk, I think is a good strategy. Sorry, Josh.
I think I learned about this tag from Detroit, Catherine, when you dropped by our kiosk and did exactly that. I think you gave me a piece of cardboard and a sticker or something. I was like, oh, that sounds like something I should be in. And in Amsterdam, we were too busy at our kiosk for me to really go anywhere. And so I think maybe I like the idea of, rather than having a kiosk, I mean, obviously I only speak from my experience, but if you maybe, since we will know the projects that will have a kiosk there, maybe it's worth even scheduling just a little bit of time so that people know that they should be there and don't like double book themselves. So you can drop by and have a 10-minute chat. I personally would like something like that, because then I can actually think about whether or not I have something to say, rather than being put on the spot being like, do you have anything to say to the tag contributor strategy? And I was like, I have no idea. And I have a little chance, like 20 minutes to research what I should talk about in that. That's just, my experience.
Well, I'm glad that worked. So even if it took a few months for you to finally make it here, but yeah, that's great to hear. And yet, to your point as well, is like, I think our issue is really awareness, and people don't know about it. And it's like, if you see the tag, you may not even look at it. So I think, just going and saying like, hey, do you know about the tag contributor strategy and what we do, being more proactive, because a lot of people may not even think about going. Swinging by, right?
Yeah, I'll point out the other problem with having the kiosk was basically I talked to the projects that also had afternoon slots, but I didn't talk to any of the projects that had morning slots because we were in the afternoon slot. Whereas if we do this by scheduling a canvas, we can schedule canvases both in the morning and the afternoon.
I like that idea.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, just in general, I didn't get really any engagement or on the last day as well, but I've done a lot of these sorts of things in the past, and sometimes we're still building awareness, and obviously we had a lot of opportunities to plug the tag. It just takes a little bit of time for people to, for these sorts of things to gain momentum, and sometimes people just knowing that you're there when they do want to approach can be beneficial as well. So I don't mind if we do or don't, but if we do and decide to do it in the future, I'm more than happy to help out and represent. And it's where I met Andrew as well, and I'm rocking my my Kubevert t-shirt at the moment too, bro. So thank you for that. So sometimes there's still there can still be benefits from those sorts of things as well. So yeah, even if it's one or two people can, I'm happy to help out. So
yeah, well, we don't have to apply yet. I do actually want to chat with Dawn before we make a final decision on this, because, like, for example, well, the one nice thing about having a kiosk is it gives us something to plug for come find us at KubeCon. And it would be nice to know from Dawn, because she did that in her keynote, how many people actually came to find her in the kiosk.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but we're not always going to have a keynote, right? I mean, that would be nice, but and then regarding the session, I think I think it was great, and so, but I think we always have the same issue. It's like there's not enough people coming, so it's like that's a little frustrating, right? So it's like you see people signing up for it and interested in it, but I think it's kind of a shame that ultimately. But that's, I guess, again, like it's just like a tiny subgroup of the entire audience that is interested, who is our target audience. But it's still, I was hoping to see a little bit more people, so a little bummed about that, but it was good. And people were very engaged. That was good.
Yeah.
People were nodding and talking, like people were very engaged, more than in different sessions that I've seen. So that was good.
Yeah, and it was about typical for any of the maintainer sessions that were in D Tower. Because we were in D Tower, which is a pain to get to. The and I actually did several maintainer sessions that were in D Tower, and I don't know that any of them had an audience bigger than about 15. And one of the things I always keep in mind is that we get a video out of this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's totally
but-
worth doing a session, but maybe let's just bring ideas to the next
Mhm.
one next month, since we don't have, there's not a deadline on it right now.
Yeah. The idea is like always coming up with a new, what's new, right? So a new twist, but we have time.
Yeah, mainly just we have a huge agenda, so
Yeah,
make sure we get to everyone here.
Okay, so we will need to reassign some of Carolyn's work. So I saw the roadmap thing and I looked at it and wanted to get maybe a better understanding, because it's like that's something maybe I think maybe take on, but would be great if I could get a little bit more content, unless someone else wanted to jump on it as well. But I didn't want to write my name under it before. And so it's basically like gathering all the roadmap things in one place, right?
If you look a little lower down, I've put down an agenda point J, and I've been working on it quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to continue with the other topics, and when we get there, I can run you through what we've already done and what I think we should be doing next. So
Okay.
help is always needed, but I can talk to that when we get there.
Okay, great. And then the CVS issues, I don't know what that is about. So
Hi, Carolyn Van Slyke, CVS. So in other words, she has a whole bunch of issues assigned to her. Or that she authored and have not been assigned to anybody else yet. And we're going to need to go through them all and either assign them to somebody else or decide that they're not going to get done.
So the website related or the technical kind of things, I can take over. I was trying to ramp up there anyway.
Yep.
Learn Hugo, Doxy, all this stuff. But I cannot assign tickets to myself yet. So let's talk that afterwards. I will ping you about that. And
great. Thanks for
stuff
yeah.
though.
Yeah,
Sorry?
sorry, I haven't had much movement on those because I don't really know Hugo Doxy that well. So, and one of the things that's a little bit of a mess is our self-contained testing. So, partly because somewhat ironically, running Hugo in a desktop container has always been fragile. Which is a little ironic considering
So create a ticket for that and I can have a look at that too, because I already have, okay, that's kind of technical detail. I don't want to go in there right now.
Yeah, and also that falls under the heading of yak shaving. You really don't want to get involved in trying to solve Hugo's problems.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we should make a thread for this in the Slack channel that we could keep following up, and because this is going to like heading out those issues, or maybe have like a special session on I mean just kind of more broadly about handing out all those issues, like it's going to be a process.
Yeah, so I mean, like anyone who wants to work on something can say so, and then we'll have to see how we tackle the rest. And Ali, again, thanks so much for taking the lead on all the website stuff. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I put like we in the action items above we had the little note, and that was one of the things that we wanted to do for KubeCon, to actually reach out to people that we know so that they can promote the tag. And I was just wondering, did we ever take action on that? Because it's like, I think that is actually a really good opportunity, and I think we just put it there and not sure.
I mean, I know we got our slide into the emissary ingress maintainer session, and that had
Okay.
like 700 people at it, standing room only.
That's awesome.
But Lance put it in. I made sure he did.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah.
we plugged it in tag contributor in not tag and SIG contributor experience, because obviously, you know, saying, hey, at the CNCF level, there's the same support, but that had quite a small audience.
Yes. So maybe for next time, like just remembering to do that again, because it's like it's like a tiny little thing, and then it could go a long way. Okay, Ariane, we're at your.
All right. Jay and I've been working. Let me run through. I'll try and keep it short. There's a lot of things on the agenda. So Jay and I worked with Caroline on the roadmap. And if you go down the bottom, right, basically the last part of my section there, where it says visuals and summary, if you click on those dots, you'll see we already kind of summarized what was inside the repo. The first thing was the README was quite a bit of a jumble. So we untangled that, moved things into charters and other places. So we just have a clean README at the front. And then visual aid, Jay started working there on a visual, which I think we should add on. I'll come to I'll just go through the points quickly. Then I think we need a single project board for all issues, which will also help with reassigning Caroline's issues. So we just have for the tag a board, because at the moment we have no board, and we have a board for mentoring all by itself. Then other thing that we noticed is there is some loose goals in some of the charters, but again, mentoring is leading the way. If you look at the summary of who's got what, mentoring's got a repo, they've got their goals for the year, they've got Nate's quite on top of it, but he's full-time looking after that. So we need to think whether we want to have per initiative a goal set for 2023 and then again 2024. The thing is, if you do goals per year, you're going to have a maintenance issue, but it also would increase accountability. So that's what we need to think about. So what I would suggest is, out of the things that we had at the top there, where I quickly went through, is Laurie suggested we could have only a repo, or we can have a project board, or we can have a combination of things. So if we clean up the repo to the point where we're all happy with that, we have a repo. Then where we have the charter for every working group or initiative, we could have a goal document for every specific one, which would clearly, if somebody come here, they go to governance, they go to goals, they can see, okay, this is the document for goals, for governance, or for mentoring, or whatever the case might be. Then a process flow, I was thinking there, like a visual process flow, like the thing that Jade started off with. It's a bit out of date because we changed things after Jay and I made that. So that process flow I'm talking about is visual. And then a project board where we combine all the open issues and PR in the project board, and we walk the board like other projects. And if somebody says, I want to do something, you can say, okay, there's a project board, look at the things that's in the backlog, pick something that you want to address. So out of that, the work that needs to be done, the cleanup of the README, I think it is in a fairly good way. The charters are slightly different. If we want to, it's not a have to, but it might be good to standardize that all the charters flow exactly the same. I think it is Maintainer Circles charter is a bit of a oddity. The rest are all similar. And
okay, I can take that on.
Yeah, that's quite different from the rest, and we might want to break it down into several documents or just make it flow like the charter. And then other cleanup suggestions, I'm open for anything else that people want to suggest for cleaning up the repo. Project board, I'm willing to take that on and just make a generic Kanban type board, just stick all the issues in there, and then we run it for it. Does require somebody to maintain it, so we'll just have to keep an eye on the, if we have the board, we have to use the board. Then thinking about goals, if we want every working group initiative to have their own specific goals that we want to publish in a specific document saying goals 2023, or just general goals, we need to make issues so every initiative can make their own goals. And then the visuals, I think Jay and I can work on that to have a nice visual flow that we stick in the README, because I think the good thing for me when I worked on this, I had no idea what the holistic picture of this tag is. And when I started pulling it apart and moving things in the right place, I started figuring out, oh, this is the picture of how it works. And I thought and then Jay took over and I actually wrote it out and he made it into a picture, and all of a sudden it's clear what we do here. So maybe that would be helpful for new people joining to say, oh, there's a picture, here's a flow. Okay, these things fit together, and the thing about the picture in 1,000 words. So that is my fast version of what we've done and what we are happy to continue doing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you have this well underway. You just need people to review and approve stuff. I do think we're going to have to look at having a single consolidated project board and see if that's actually, if that actually works, or if it's too big to be usable, if you follow me.
I was thinking about a board per initiative, and then I saw there's some of the initiative, many of the tickets are tagged for more than one initiative, and there's others where an initiative going to have a single ticket. Then you're going to have a board with a ticket by its lonesome. So it's you're right. If you have all of them together, it's a bit much, but if you have them separately, it is again too distributed. So,
yeah, I mean, the problem is we want both, right? We effectively want sort of views over this, right? Which is sometimes we want to be able to see everything that's in process for the entire tag. And other times, particularly when we're dealing with somebody who's like a new contributor to the tag, we want to be able to see stuff, say, just for mentoring or just for governance.
Oh, yes, but you're right, Josh. I didn't think about it. You can make one board and just several views of the board, which would serve that purpose.
Yeah. I think we might also want to consider doing some kind of tagging for things that we consider sort of goals / roadmap items. Currently, we don't really differentiate between things that might be effectively like bugs, like this document needs rewriting, versus things that are goals. And if we're going to effectively use the project boards, I think we might want to tag for that.
Yeah, you're right. We should actually have several views of goal-orientated things and just bug fixing things, and then also by different initiatives, so we can filter in ways that make sense. But I think the first thing is then just for me to create a generic board, and then we start looking at and I'll come up with views that I think is useful. And the nice thing is you can keep on chopping and changing until it works for us.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds.
Okay, if there's no objections to our general proposal, we'll start making issues and creating a board, and Jay and I will work on a flow and see where it takes us and bring it back for evaluation every now and then.
Awesome. Okay, let's move to the working groups. Mentoring, anything else you want to say?
Not from me, but quick shout out to Nate and Ali, who did some awesome pushes, sorting out some proposals and accepted things to push through for the next phase of LFX yesterday. I saw all the things coming through on my Slack while I was out of town for something else. So yeah, just quick shout out to the guys for all your awesome effort on that. So, but nothing else from me at the moment.
Okay. And there is nothing official yet, but I am talking to Jay about like and Nate, a potential new mentorship thing I'm really excited about. So something coming, hopefully, soon. Nothing from working contributor growth.
Actually, there is. We
How
don't
you
have like
doing?
official delegates. Oh, hey, Diane. Speaking of contributor growth working group. Hello, Diane.
Hello there. Sorry, I'm in the open source summit, so I'm trying to find a quiet space. But I don't really have anything to contribute from the contributor growth working group yet.
Yeah, well, I will say something that Diane got enlisted on here was Diane and Noah and Kim fired up the non-code contributor effort. And we're going to have a meeting actually at open source at OSNA because several people are going to be there. So that's just starting. There's a whole bunch of notes on it, which I'm going to link in. And they had a lot of ideas. This is in the formation phase right now.
Awesome. Governance, that would be you, Josh.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me add that link because I'm also taking notes.
All right.
So, okay. Yeah. So we now have some documentation for all of the templates that are exclusively governance. I might go ahead and take on the contributor ladder because that's sort of shared between governance and contributor growth, and we don't really have anything out of contributor growth for that. So, and we need to have some that needs more documentation than most of the other templates because it's more of an assembly kit than a template. Once that's done, though, in terms of the governance working group is a kind of different position, because once that's done and I also get the document on the sort of general advisory on how to run an open source election. And then we update our early advisory documents to point to all the new templates and everything else. So this is our roadmap for governance. At that point, we're probably going to move into more of a maintenance phase with the governance working group, where its main job is going to be to do governance reviews of projects, which is becoming a responsibility. We actually had Flatcar call us for an optional governance review because they are coming in as incubating, so they are not at this point required to have fully fleshed out governance. And Dawn gave them some feedback. So, okay, somebody put a question in there in the project leveling task force. And I don't know what's going on with that because the person from our team who was on that was Carolyn. So
I wasn't necessarily going to say that directly in the doc, but what I did put in there was the conversation that we had in April was we're going to look to be able to do this work like Q3, like I said, August-ish. But realistically, when we brought this up, everyone kind of panicked a little bit as far as like being able to add one more work stream in here was not. No one felt like they had capacity for it. So
yeah, I mean, adding new work streams to the tag requires adding new people to the tag, but
right.
We are having some new people show up in the tag.
So it's possible. Who did put in the question?
That was me.
Okay.
Yep.
Did I answer your question directly?
Yes and no. The commentary, the issue that Carolyn raised for this says both we would like to seek immediate progress and we are going to start looking at this in August. I don't quite see that those things are compatible. So I understand.
Well, Carolyn was the one that was leading that, so that is.
I appreciate that. That's yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I just want to throw back out there. We talked about this last month, but then obviously there wasn't a governance meeting this month for good reason. So, but I was interested in getting on governance and getting into that and helping a bit. I just obviously have no idea where to start there. So I think it'd be good to like maybe have an offline chat from here and see where I could get started. or what would be useful, but that's certainly something that I have an interest in.
Yeah, I'd like to
Okay.
reiterate my interest in it as opposed to my proposed possible neutrality or not.
Okay, and the other thing I'm going to remark in there is that now we have several production users of Electo. Feature requests are accumulating, so I'm going to try to probably get on the next LFX cycle to get some major stuff knocked out with things like navigation, for example, of Electo, which definitely shows the fact that that wasn't a priority for the initial development. So yeah. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I'd be interested in when Craig, when you're talking about your neutrality or not, it's like none of us are completely truly neutral, but like that's why I invited Jose here to talk about telepresence, because it wouldn't be appropriate for me to, since I'm on here and offering to help with governance stuff. So
Cool. Okay. Speaking of which, you want to do a quick recap of Maintainer Circle and then we can get on to telepresence?
yeah, pardon me. I got these allergies that are flaring up right now. The KubeCon one I was pretty happy with for my first go. We had about 20 attendees. About half of those were not from Motel. Andrew, I think you were there, so thanks for showing up. I also got to say that Andrew has crazy good style. He was rocking a suit on the last day of KubeCon that was extremely impressive. Stands out in my memory. But no, it went pretty well. Yeah, we had 5 projects represented. I thought, I think the main thing was like Otel was leading this discussion around, how to engage with community. I thought the most interesting thing was like the breadth, like the width of perspectives in terms of like, Otel, their thing is like they have a lot of community people and they really had to like actively reach out to the community they want to talk to. And then there was someone from another project there who was like, there's 3 of us and we have like 1,000 issues. And so, yeah, there was, I thought it was a good discussion. For me, it was very enriching to see, I don't know, just, I was doing the maintainer circles because it was like a thing that everyone that needed help. And so for me, it was kind of a payoff of like, oh, wow, this was a valuable thing to provide to people. So I'm excited to do the next ones. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on the one at KubeCon.
I thought one of the interesting things about it was you didn't have a lot of experience with the ones before you came on board.
Yeah.
But it used to be that these were fairly dominated actually by Kubernetes maintainers.
Okay.
And this was interesting in that I think I was the only Kubernetes maintainer in the session, and so it was really actually about other projects, which was an interesting change and probably a good one.
Yeah, and so that is good. That is good to know and interesting. I wonder if that's just because the difference of the people, I don't know, it just like looking back at the list of previous people who ran maintainer circles, they were all heavy Kubernetes people, and maybe they just attracted that audience more. Anyways, we're doing one in this month. I'm trying to lock down. I wish Nate was here because I'm trying to lock down a date with him, but he has found a mentor to do it with, where Nate's going to talk about the mentoring program, and then Lee will talk about his experience in the program. So that's definitely going to be like the last week of May. We just need to figure out the day and time and lock it in, which I'm going to bother them a little bit more today and tomorrow. And then we'll get an abstract here soon and promote it. And then for June, Paris is on that. We're trying to do June 28th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. The main thing there is I just need to make sure we have someone can be there for tech. And then I'll confirm it with Amy. And Paris will get an abstract done by early June so we can start promoting in the same month. That's that.
So finally, a whole lineup, which is great to see.
Yeah, and there's a couple more that I'm talking to people now about trying to get July and August set up from the ones that we had kind of from before KubeCon. So.
Okay. I'll work with you and maybe Catherine as well on messaging to try to get the word out about the online ones. once we have a date.
Yeah, yeah. The main one, I'm pretty much just as soon as we get the abstract from him, I'm gonna have to go on the blitz.
Okay. Should we talk about telepresence then?
Cool. Yeah. So like I mentioned, we are just trying to take it up to incubation. I've sort of had a look at the criteria. I think we should be okay for most of them. We have to document them, of course. I think the main thing we're missing is just the security, security process. I don't think we have an explicit one right now. But yes, just barring that. So I think we definitely have sort of like production users of the open source telepresence. We have a flow of committers into the project that we sort of like talk to on a regular basis. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious what we need to do. Should we just raise a PR to get it promoted and begin that conversation? Is there anybody sort of in this group who maybe has taken a look at it or is sort of like interested in yeah, sort of all of that stuff? Basically the question is how do we do this?
Okay, so the actual promotion is it's in the hands of the TOC.
Okay.
So your next step should be getting a TOC sponsor.
Okay.
Who is supposed to lead you through what they call the due diligence process, which is basically creating a document that fills in a lot of information about your project. The hard requirement for going up to incubating is to have a short list of users of the software, which should not be hard for you guys, except to the extent that all of us have users that we know are users and production users, but they don't want to go on the record about it for whatever reason.
Right.
And the TOC wants these to be referenceable users where a TOC member could even contact them and ask them questions.
Got it.
That's honestly been the biggest hurdle for projects, is just getting that list. The sort of soft requirement that the TOC is they want to see evidence that the project is kind of getting its stuff together to move into what you should be doing during incubating, such as building up a sort of contributor infrastructure and workflow. And like I said, for incubating, you don't have to have that built. You just need to show some evidence that you're working on it. And a bunch of the DD questions really have to do with that. Because it's true that a lot of projects, not telepresence, because I think you already have contributors from a variety of locations, but a lot of projects, when they're in Sandbox, are basically have a single corporate sponsor, and all the maintainers come from that sponsor and that sort of thing. And so one of the things the TOC is looking for when they move into incubating is, hey, have you thought about what it's going to look like when you have contributors and even maintainers that don't all work for the same company? And that shouldn't really be a big problem for you guys, because you're already kind of there. So tag contributor strategy is not involved in the review of the due diligence, etc. Where we are involved is projects come to us and they say, hey, we actually want to get our contributor stuff together, right? Contributor guides, that sort of thing. Partly because we're applying for incubation. Can you help us do that? And that's where we become involved at the incubating level.
I'll say that already, Josh, though, like none of us knew that like you had to get the talk person first, and they walked you through that. So that's already great to know.
And I'll tell you, one of the reasons it's really confusing is that the process has changed several times over the short lifetime of the CNCF. And one of the things the current TOC has been trying to do is to get a concrete process, because what happened was when the process changed, they didn't necessarily delete the documents of the old version of the process. They just added new documents for the new version and let people try to sort out which one was theirs.
Right.
Groups of people, led by Emily, have been actually trying to straighten that out. And I think one of the, and so that sort of documentation overhaul is ongoing.
Okay.
Where there's likely to be a big delay is assigning you a TOC sponsor. Just because the TOC is just sort of generally behind on their workload, honestly, largely because of events this year being heavily front loaded.
Right. Okay.
Where there were just a lot of CNCF events in the first half of the year. And that ended up canceling a lot of TOC meetings. So I'll find where the current application is of, hey, we're ready to start the process, please give us a sponsor is.
Okay. Yeah, that'll definitely be super helpful. And as well as just like, I don't know, any help setting up like the contributor flow, right? Like you mentioned, we do already sort of have some of that stuff documented, and people do raise PRs against the project, and we do merge them. But just sort of making sure that that's clean and that's kind of like up to standard, I think is something we would really appreciate.
Yeah, and like I said, that's not a hard requirement for getting into incubating.
Okay.
It more ends up falling on the other side, which is that if there's no evidence that you have any sort of organized contributor activity,
right,
then there's going to be questions from the TOC, and they might decide you're not ready for incubating.
Okay.
Josh, have you seen Chris's PR suggesting that this has moved forward to incubation? I don't know when that will land, if at all it will land in relation to projects that go in now.
Which?
I'll find the link, but Chris Aniszczyk had a PR on the TOC repo suggesting that the governance reviews and contributor stuff that's currently graduation requirements, one of the moves to incubation requirement, one of the moves to a sandbox requirement.
I don't know that anybody was talking about that being a sandbox requirement.
I was surprised to see the same thing. I will send it to you.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to send me a link. Because what we had been talking about is, so currently we're moving into having a formal governance review be part of the process of going to graduation.
Got it.
We were talking about having a formal contribution review be part of the threshold for incubation, right? But that's actually been put on hold because of needing to onboard new leadership for contributor growth working group, because they would have to actually do that, and right now that working group's a little understaffed. We don't want to create another thing within the CNCF where stuff is delayed because we don't have enough people on it.
Got it.
We're not going to add the requirement until there's enough people to actually carry it out. So right now it's a sort of informal thing that happens either if the project requests it, as you're doing now, or if the TOC requests it.
Got it. Okay.
Mostly what the TOC is doing is it's sort of defensive. They want to avoid getting in a situation where creating a contributor infrastructure is going to be a problem for a project that's already been in incubation for a year and a half.
Right.
Because that actually has happened in the past, and it was painful for everyone involved. So we don't want to do it again. What I'd say is, can you open an issue in our repo, and tag contributor strategy repo, with ideally links to all of the documents that you have, because projects put their documents in different places, which is fine. but it helps if we don't have to go hunting for them.
Absolutely.
Although sometimes what I do is I ignore the links and I do go hunting for them, and that way I can flag, hey, this is actually a great guide, but it's very hard to find.
Yeah.
The and then we'll get on that with suggestions and stuff, and then you can put in the DD, hey, you know, when you get to fill out the DD, you can put in there, hey, we've been working with tag contributor strategy on our contributor infrastructure, which always helps.
Super. Okay. Okay, fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we'll get started. I'll raise an issue against you. I will try to get ourselves a TOC sponsor, and that's just gonna get the ball rolling.
Yeah, well, no,
Thanks so much.
Right now you open an application with the TOC and they assign you a sponsor.
Right, okay, yeah, got it.
And that is done now via at least a Git repo, which is good.
Okay. Okay.
Let me find. I'll dig after the meeting. I'll actually dig and see exactly where the template for that is.
Okay.
The so.
Okay, and so one thing that I realized we should do is like, so we have 2 new videos, of course, from KubeCon, add those to our website. And that's what we can do. Then we should, of course, as well, like promote on social media, and that should be our promo thing. So I'll take care of that. I have not. Yeah, I think it's probably pretty straightforward. So if not, I'll ask for help.
I can help with the website. Not social part, but I can put them on the website, yeah.
Okay, great. I think I want to try still, but just to make sure if it works the way I think it works. But like, you'll be my my point of contact if I have any questions. So
I can review your PR.
Awesome. Anything else? We're 5 minutes already, which is incredible.
It went through a whole bunch of stuff. Well, a lot of things to follow up on.